Hey, JC here for retirecheapjc. Well, I got a video coming at you. Is it about cheap food? No. Is it about cheap housing? No. Is it about friendly Thai people? Maybe. Anyway, no, this is a Happy New Year video. Happy 2016 from me and my family to you all. So this is a video for 2016. We're going to talk about the past since I've been coming to Thailand, what's happening now and what I see for the future. And guess what else? This is a combination. We hit 5 million views already. I'm making this right before it hits 5 million, so I might post it and it might be real close to 5 million, but we're hitting the 5 million mark. This is amazing to me. So we're going to talk about all that in this video, but it's a thank you video for being a loyal viewer and checking out the videos. We've come a long way over the years, and so I want to just pass on my thanks to you all and a little forecast about the future. So we're going to grab a coffee, go sit someplace, and let's talk about time since I came here, what's happening now, 2016, and what else? 5 million views. Anyway, see you soon. Gonna go grab a coffee. We'll sit down and talk about it. So for you all that aren't familiar with the story, let's talk about how this retirecheapjc got started. Actually, I went home, gosh, what year was it? I guess it would be 2010. I guess it was 2010. I needed to go home because I still had stuff there. Even though I'd been living in Thailand for quite a long time, I still had stuff there. So I needed to go to address that. So I went home. And what I saw was so many people were in a bad situation. Previous to that, before I'd go visit home, and people would say, so how do you like living in Taiwan? I said, I don't live in Taiwan, I live in Thailand. And they said, oh, okay, whatever. You know, and they didn't really care. They didn't really have a lot of interest in what my lifestyle was like. But when I went back in 2010, it was sort of a different story because so many people had taken such a hit in the crash of 2008. Their real estate holdings, which were many people's nest egg, so to speak, had taken a hit. It depreciated, some by 60%. In their real estate holdings, and then also in their stocks. The stock market had taken a hit. So a lot of people were self-directing their retirement account, and they lost money there as well. So the interesting thing about that timing was it was exactly the time when the first baby boom, and if you don't know what baby boomers are, there's when people came back from the war, World War II, when people came back from the war, they actually started to have more babies, and there's a segment of the population. All of a sudden, we had this giant, a massive amount of babies popped into the population of the United States, and they've been traveling through like a snake eating a goat. It's passing through the snake. Well, all of a sudden now it's come to the point where it's hitting retirement age. So we call those baby boomers. Because of the boom in babies. And so they were just starting at that point to start collecting Social Security, looking at their retirement. And so many people I saw that were my age were facing, actually they were a little older than me, were facing this crisis and trying to deal with it. And they were asking me, how much do you pay for a meal? And how much do you pay for rent? And all this stuff. So they were interested. So I was really worried about my family in that situation. my sister, my brother gonna hit retirement age, friends, and I was looking at this and going, this is a scary situation. People are really facing a crisis in their lifetime, and you know, they say retirement's supposed to be your golden years, and so it didn't look too golden for a lot of people. At that time, I had sold restaurants. I had been doing some work over in Thailand. I had built some restaurants. So I sold the restaurants, and I was actually looking for something to do, and I wanted it to be an online business. And so I was looking, okay, what can I do online? And everybody that was successful in online business that were offering any kind of advice, that weren't selling a product, to give to somebody to be able to do business online. Everybody that was successful said, you know, you got to do two things. Talk about what you're an expert at, and do what you love, and then you'll be a success. So with those two basic principles, I start thinking about this and going, okay, what am I an expert at, you know, and what do I love to do? Well, my background had been really varied. You know, I had, as a young kid, I delivered yachts to the Caribbean. I lived on a classic, you know, seabird yawl, a sailboat, a yawl, designed by a guy by the name of Thomas Fleming Day. And it was a really cool, classic gaff rig sailboat, gaff rig yawl. So anyway, I lived on that and lived in the Keys, learned how to repair underwater cameras, Nikonus underwater cameras. So I worked out of a dive shop and went sailing and stuff. And exported cars for a time to Costa Rica and imported emeralds from Brazil. And then for, I don't know, 12 years, I traveled around as personal security for a speaker, a personal coach by the name of Anthony Robbins, and then built a restaurant, stuff like that. So my life has always been adventurous. And so when I started thinking about what am I going to do online, I realized that my life was sort of when I looked at other people's lives, I've always worked sort of backwards. I always said, well, what do I want my lifestyle to be like now? How can I support that lifestyle? Where most people do what they can do to earn money, and then they do what they enjoy on their time off. Well, mine was the opposite. I've always done what I enjoyed, and then figured out a way to pay for it. And so I've always had what I consider more life for less money, because even though I didn't earn a lot of money doing what I did, the lifestyle would have been, if I'd saved money working and gone and done it as a vacation, I would have spent money doing it. So it was a break-even situation. I made less money, but I did what I loved to do, and it was sort of like a vacation every day. So it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I mean, this is what I'm an expert at, of living an inexpensive life, or a life of more life for less money. And that hit me one day when I was actually living up in Chiang Mai, and I was eating with a Canadian friend, and it was nighttime. We were sitting on a sidewalk at a bunch of food carts that came out every night, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden it dawned on me. I thought, here I am under the stars in Thailand, which is, I don't know if it still is, an exotic location, eating this meal that was costing me at that time $1, and with my friend, and I was thinking, well, this is what I'm an expert at. This is what I should teach people, because of all those people back home are going to need this. This is going to be a need to be able to have a lifestyle like this very soon for these baby boomers. So that was that aha moment. I went, wow, that's what I'm expert at. You know, it's like I need to show people my life, just share it with them. And so that's what I started to do. And my first YouTube video went up on January 2nd, 2011. So I put up the video and said, okay, we'll see if there's actually a need for this kind of information, or if people are even interested. Like I said, my background's varied. I was a photographer at one time, a freelance photographer, a videographer. I'd done some website work, so I had all these skill sets. So I put up the video on YouTube, and that was in 2011, in January, and I started to track the numbers. I said, okay, well, I can track this, do the metrics on this, and see if there's actually a demand or a need or a desire to watch these videos. So I kept putting up videos, and I know, I put up more than I do now, but I didn't have a member site then. I mean, it keeps me pretty busy, and all the correspondence with everybody. So anyway, I put up that video and started tracking the numbers, and they were exponentially growing. So in September of 2011, I said, there's a need for this information. But the challenge was that people were asking the same important questions over and over and over again. They were repetitive. And I said, okay, I need to disseminate all this information about everything detail-wise that people are going to ask, that they need to know if they're going to live here, and cover every possible angle, and keep this information updated. And that's why I created the member site. So all the information would be in one place. So I put up the first video on the member site on September 9th, 2011. That was when the first video went up on the member site. And put the link. I've never done any Facebook advertising, any YouTube advertising or anything like that. I just said, well, if people see the videos on YouTube and they think they're interesting enough or they're informative and they need more information, they'll go to the member site, sign up for a membership. It's only $10 a month. And if you get longer than 1 month, membership is cheaper than that. I think you can go to McDonald's and order a meal when it costs $10. So I figured even when I had restaurants and everything I've always done is like create more value than what you ask in return. So I figured, and it's like I'm not going to charge a lot of money to people that are going to be scraping by. I mean, I'm trying to help out the people that don't have a lot of money. I'm not going to charge a lot of money to tell them how to live cheap. It didn't make any sense. So I kept it real cheap so that anybody would be able to do this, and launched the membership site. And it's been amazing. It's been an amazing run all this time now. Like I said, 5 million views on YouTube. We're hitting 5 million views. That's a lot. That's crazy, crazy. So there is a need for it. And so to me, that really impresses me. And some people, it's interesting how you benefit so many people. I mean, a lot of people I run into almost on a daily basis say, yeah, I've been over here, I'm over here because I saw your videos, they were really helpful, blah, blah, blah. And that really makes me feel good. But there's some really special correspondence I get. Like one lady said that her husband really wanted to come live in Thailand. And he had just passed away. And she was sending me an email to tell me, to thank me for the videos and how he lived vicariously through the videos. And it was his little way of getting as close as he could to be living in Thailand. And she wanted to thank me for making the ending time of his life, the last little bit he had left, as pleasant as it was. And so those are the things that really touch me and what drives me to continue doing this, because it's grown into something. It started out as a baby, now it's a monster, because of the correspondence and how long it takes to produce videos and everything like that. It really does take a lot of time, but again, it's something I love to do, and it's fulfilling, and knowing that I'm helping people. And so I continue to do this. But my first trip over here was in 1998. I started coming over here, and 2001, I think I came over here and started living full-time, and I think I was 44 years old at the time, and I had made the decision to come over. I'd come over a few times from 98 to 2001, and every time I came over, the trip kept getting a little longer, And I remember specifically, you probably heard me say this before, I was sitting on a tarmac on a plane. I think I'd been over here for 3 months. The first trip I actually made over was on Cathay Pacific Airlines, and they had a deal for $999. You had 30 days, and they had like 30 different destinations, and you could travel to any of them. During that 30-day period, you just couldn't go backwards, retrace your route. And I went to Indonesia, Philippines, Bali, Thailand, a lot of different, Hong Kong, a lot of different places to check it out. But I kept coming back to Thailand, and each time it kept getting a little bit longer, a trip longer. I think I was here for 2 months or 3 months, and I remember sitting on the plane, on the tarmac, and the plane's getting ready to take off. And I was bummed. I was disappointed, thinking, I felt like I was leaving home instead of returning home, and I knew that was the time to go home and pack things up. But, and that was in 2001. I said, okay, pack things up, put it in storage, and come on over and live. And so 44 years old. So I want to talk a little bit about the changes. Seeing we got 5 million views, and it's a new year. So I want to talk to you about the past and the future. In 17 years, and I made some notes because I never remember all this stuff. All these are done on the fly most of the time. I don't have notes except for my weekly updates on the member site. I always have notes because there's a lot of detailed information there. But so my take on 17 years of coming over here. Some places that, I don't know if you're familiar, I keep saying no-fly zones. People say, what are your no-fly zones? As a retiree, not as a young person, not as a vacationer, but as a retiree where you got a limited amount of income, you got a more limited mobility, your finances are finite. You need a place that's going to be relaxing, peaceful, safe, cheap to live if you don't have a lot of money. Now, if you're in a Category 2 or Category 3 budget, that's not so much of an issue. But if you fall down or get knocked over or somebody pushes you or you get in a motorbike accident and you get injured and you're 70 years old or 65 years old, you don't heal as fast as when you were 35 or 40. Trust me, I know. And so we need to find places that are safe, where the crime is low against foreigners. Some places crime is high for foreigners and Thai people. Some places it's more targeted towards foreigners because foreigners have the money. And what changes the dynamics in my no-fly zones mostly is when influx of tourism and expats grow the community to a point where they need to bring in workers from outside. If you're living in a town where all the workers live there, their families are there, they got to toe the line because of saving face. They can't do anything bad and their family know about it because it'll make the family look bad. But once they go and they start moving to a city or something and start working because they need the help, they can get away with a lot more and they'll try a lot more. They'll take more risks. And this is where foreigners become targets for different things, for scams, for crime, for all these different things. So and traffic increases, the cost of living increases, the property values go up, all these things contribute to places I can call my no-fly zones, where as a retiree, ripper, there's more chance that you could be injured, that you could have a crime acted on against you, your money's going to go faster. There's just all these different elements that are places I call my no-fly zones. Koh Samui is one of those. When I first went to Koh Samui, I sat on the beach. I had to take a boat to get to the island. I sat on the beach. Bungalow, I think it was $6 a night on the beach, and I sat there. And I was in heaven. I said, when I retire, this is where I'm going to retire. This is paradise. I went back 4 years later. They put it in the airport. Flights were coming in. The road that was around the island that was wide enough for one car where you had to move over to let another car pass if oncoming traffic came. They had expanded the road. As they built the road, they built hotels and built all these things, and all the construction debris was just left lying around. They were bringing in people to work. People weren't as friendly, and I sat on the same chair on the same beach, and I looked down both sides, and it was just trash washed up on the beach. I mean, literally trash. I said, they trashed the place. How could they do this? It's such a beautiful place. And then crime started to increase and stuff, and people weren't friendly anymore there. I felt like I was a target, and when I went out, when I stayed someplace, I was worried about my stuff being in the room, that it might get stolen. And this is how no-fly zones started. So Phuket's on that list, Koh Samui's on the list, parts of Bangkok are on that list. There's a few places. And I don't like to Pattaya is definitely on the list. I don't like to talk too much about them. They're just places, if you want to visit, it's like Disney World. Go visit, have fun, but living there is a different story for me personally. For you, you might love it. But anyway, so those are the changes that I saw take place because more of these no-fly zones started to pop up as more people came over to live, as more money started to come over, more countries, different countries started to get disposable income where they could travel. I've watched Japanese have their time, Koreans had their time, Russians had their time, now it's the Chinese. So all these people get money and they start to come over and it changes the dynamics. Right now the North has got explosive growth. And a lot of people that are business owners in Bangkok, a couple of years ago, we had the floods in Bangkok. A lot of those people that were from the north took theirs, instead of rebuilding their businesses, took their money up north. Said, tourism is booming up there, and they built guest houses and tour companies and everything, and just exploded. Now there's condominiums and all this stuff. And so, but what went with it? When I first came over, you got to understand, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, there's actually one across the street. I could actually, it's too far away, I think, with this camera for you to see it. But I don't know if you remember the original Nissan or Datsun pickup trucks and Toyota pickup trucks. They were little tiny pickup trucks. In places like Chiang Mai, those were the vehicles that were going around on the street. Those and very little Toyota Corollas, the little ones, before they became big. The old men with the samlas, the pedaling the bikes. This is the traffic, and all the sois, the small roads, were built for that, and they could get by. Now those same roads are there, and there's tour buses and stuff going down them. There's 4 shopping malls and 2 more going up. The growth is just explosive. And so what happens? They got to bring people into work, and so the dynamics of Chiang Mai are changing now. But for somebody that's never seen that, like I have, and you go to Chiang Mai, it's probably still quaint, nice little northern town. But for me, it's not the town where they had the jungle restaurant where you could eat python and cobra and stuff like that. It was a little tiny place. So anyway, those are the kind of changes I've seen over the years. I've seen these places, and I've seen a middle-class explosion here based on consumerism and materialism. The ads are pumped to these people to buy the latest phone, the latest gadget, cosmetics, creams, medicines, everything. They're just bombarded. And we have truth in advertising laws in the States. And so I see some of these advertisements that these people are buying into, and they should be regulated. But the point is that they're just buying. And there's so much personal debt now because they're giving loans just like they did back in the States. We're sort of coming down that side of the curve, and they're still going up. And so there's a lot of changes happening over here. Now, is that good or bad? Well, it's good and bad. It's good because there's so much more options for you when you want to buy products like food products, electronics, motorcycles. I mean, they got Triumph, Harley Davidson, Ducati, all that stuff. Back when I moved here, you could barely get internet. Now we're getting 4G. You know, I mean, it's just amazing, the growth here. So that, in one hand, makes it so much easier to move here. It used to be a leap to come live in Southeast Asia. Now it's a baby step to come to live in Thailand anyway. The women before didn't wear any makeup. They were very natural looking, plain. Now they're taught to wear makeup and get whitening creams. Every product here has a whitener in it. Tooth whitener, skin whitener, everything's a whitener. And so they're really conscious of this stuff. So the dynamics are changing in this country. But pendulums swing back and forth. But to come over here now, I mean, it's really easy. Now, can you still live? The good point is, can you still live as a retiree? Yes, you can. If you don't live in the cities where all these other people are accumulating and they're marketing to foreigners and the prices are being driven up by supply and demand, you can still live like a Thai person. You can still live cheap. I lived for $500 a month for 10 years, 11 years. Now, I still live a cheap life as far as eating and things that lifestyle. Now, my living quarters have changed a little bit. But as far as everything else, it's the same. I eat the same food. I get the same phone. I just bought this used motorcycle. My other motorcycle was 12 years old. I bought for 40,000 baht and had it for 12 years. I mean, my lifestyle is what I show you all. It's really easy going, laid back, and chilled. And so, so the prices haven't gone up that much. If you live the way Thai people live in places Thai people live. There are some future things to look at in the future as far as living here in Thailand. You know, there's power struggles going on. There's an imminent death that's going to make a big change in this country. That there'll be a void or a vacuum that'll be tried to be filled. So there's a lot that's going to be happening, and we'll keep an eye on that. I'm always reporting any changes that come up. You know, I'll be talking to you all about them, in my opinion. I went to Cambodia. Cambodia is another option. Easy to get visas there. For 1 year, you can live there. I was going to go back and show you all how to get a 1-year visa, which is really easy to do, and how to get driver's license and stuff. But the crime there now has gone up tremendously. Again, just like everywhere else. You see in Oakville around the beach, because this becomes a target. You know, people want money, are desperate. And because there's more poverty there, there's more people looking at you as a target. But Vietnam's up and coming. We're going to go to Vietnam, check it out. They just gave Americans the ability to have a 1-year visa to live there. They opened up where foreigners can buy property. So we're going to go check that out as well. So there's a lot of things coming up in the future that I'm going to keep you all informed of, because you need to know. You need to know what your options are. You know, some people say, why don't you make a video of this? Why don't you make a video of that? Why don't you talk about this? I'm going to end with this because it's real important that you understand the whole. I told you how this all got started. It's to help the people that don't have options. If you're on a Category 2, high Category 2, Category 3 budget, you could stay home and live if you wanted to. You can go to any place and live. You can rent anything you want. You can eat in air-conditioned restaurants every meal. That's not who these videos are for. My videos are targeted towards, if you look at my demographics, they're mostly male, even though our member site, we have now single ladies, women, and couples. So, you know, the demographics has changed since I've started this, but actually it was very targeted mostly to men, because women had a preconcept of what this place was about, which is changing now. But if it isn't, if my video isn't going to show people how this place is conducive to living as a retiree, where they're safe, where they can live on a fixed income and live a peaceful and quiet life, then those videos are a minimum if they're outside of those parameters. You know, there's things I'll see and say, oh, this is really cool. If you live here, you ought to go check this out. Or you know, every once in a while I'll throw in something else. But really, it's to give people options. I still think that baby boomer, the goat going through the snake, is still really big. It's still going uphill. The numbers are getting bigger and bigger every year. And so you all need help. You all need choices. If you're watching this and your grandfather or your father or somebody looks depressed and not sure what they're going to do, give them a membership, a gift membership, so that they can get this information and connect with other people. One of the things, the benefits that came out of the membership site, which I didn't anticipate when I started it, was the camaraderie. People come over, instead of being a person in a foreign country, all of a sudden they got a network of friends that go out and do things together and everything. Is really, really cool. I am so grateful. You know, I try and live every day with an attitude of gratitude for the life that I have, for the being able to help people, and for the new friends that I've met, either through YouTube or through the member site. Really incredible. So I'm really privileged to have the life I have, and I don't take it lightly. And so I hope that you've enjoyed watching the videos all these years. There'll be more coming. I'm going to try and start making more if I can. But if it gets to be too much like work, we don't want that, do we? 4-letter word, work. So I try and keep it paced, try and make it fun. I try and make it interesting. My job is always to educate, inform, and entertain you, and I hope I've been doing that. So here's to another 1 million views, and keep in touch. I read every comment that's ever posted, has ever been posted on YouTube, and in my member site as well. So I know what you're feeling. I got my finger on the pulse. So enjoy our upcoming year. I hope 2016 brings you lots of, let's see, what do I wish for you all? Love, laughter, and great health. How's that? So for JC and all my friends and everybody that helps me do all this, I want to thank you all and sign off. See you soon.